fiction or football? Tottenham are looking stronger than Arsenal at the start of the season and could overtake them if they sign Eze.
Oh, nice. I was enjoying the start of that bit, but no. Now fiction. I am a big fan of Thomas Frank. I think I pushed for him to be the United manager when Ten Hag was still in charge. So everyone knows I've got a big Frank agenda. I like the transfer window that Spurs. I like the transfer business that Spurs are doing, trying to get Savio, getting Kudus, trying to get Gibbs White, etc., etc. But I think their ceiling is probably like what, 5th to 7th this season. I think that'll be a very good season for them as well, considering last year they finished 16th, something like that. Thereabouts. So sorry, I was
17th.
I was trying to imply
it.
So that'll be a pretty massive leap, because if the flip side to that is Arsenal are going to regress even further, then it would have to be like a sort of like Leicester like flip of going from like just above relegation zone to like up there at the top of the table. I think Spurs will be very good this year. I think they'll be solid under Frank. I think that everyone will now hopefully see how wonderful he is as a manager and as a tactician. But as I say, I think right now, let's not get giddy. The ceiling is about 5th, I would say. That's where I've personally predicted them to finish. And I've got a very big Frank agenda. So I think I'm being generous there. And Arsenal aren't finishing below 3rd. So yeah, that's my thoughts.
I think it's a lot closer than what people realise. I think Thomas Frank is a big boost, because I think that Tottenham squad has got a bit of a bad rep over the last couple of years because of the way Postecoglou plays. That Tottenham squad, when you look at it on a pure ability level, there's a fair amount in it. And a lot of these are younger players who I think are going to kick on under a manager who's got a really good nous for developing these younger players. I mean, I looked at the Tottenham midfield over the last couple of games. Archie Gray and Pat Matar, that is a ridiculous pivot in terms of what they can do as footballers. I mean, your fullback options are pretty solid. I think it's all going to come down ultimately, because I think Eze amplifies a lot of the creativity problems that I think they've had. I think Solanke and Richarlison, if he stays fit, that is Richarlison, is a very good striker rotation in terms of they both do different things, but it's what you might need in certain games. Kudus has started like a house on fire, but he was always a good footballer, and you've got decent backups for that. I still think that they could do with one more attacker, potentially, but I think for Tottenham, it's ultimately going to come down to the fitness of your defence. If Mickey van der Ven if Mickey van der Ven's injury problems were down to Postecoglou, and playing a more calm, more composed system under Thomas Frank, he can give you 30 games a season, I think Tottenham can run it mighty close, because I'm a big fan, just off the amount I've seen so far, of what Frank Scottie's doing. Now, the flip side is, once Mikel Arteta, there's a bigger sample size for Arteta and Arsenal, where it clicks. But the question marks I have for Arsenal at the minute are more than what I've got for Tottenham. Mainly because there's higher expectations for Arsenal. But I do wonder if this is the season for Arsenal where it's just a little bit slow and a little bit off the pace after 3-4 years of really pushing, taking it as far as they can, time and time again. If this season it's just a bit of a drop-off and it brings them into a race with Tottenham, who just have minimal pressure, that, new manager, bounce, all the positivity around the football club at the minute because they've just come off a trophy win. So I think this season's basically going to be an extended honeymoon. I think it can run mighty close.
Have Arsenal gotten worse though, Tom? They haven't gotten worse, have they?
I wouldn't say they've gotten worse.
They've gotten better, haven't they? Surely.
In a sense, yes, but I think that's a little bit sort of, because I just liken it to what other clubs have been through. So when you've had drop-offs in the past, I'd argue in the summers you got stronger. But it's just these things happen in the season, or the mentality that has been there for so long, for some reason just isn't there, and it goes. And even though on paper you're stronger, in reality you look weaker. It was the same with my team for a couple of years as well. I think the same could happen for Arsenal here, potentially, just because this would be the 4th year of this title push thing. I don't know many teams that have been able to keep it going that long at that higher level. Now, maybe it was last season was that drop off. But I don't. A part of me thinks it wasn't just because of the way the manager was treating it. So, just going off past experiences in the last 5, 6, 7 years, teams struggle to keep it going for 5, 6, 7 years. I think this year, with the change up top for Arsenal, with the fallout from the injuries last year, I wouldn't be shocked if this is a year where Arsenal are just a little bit off the boil, and that opens the door for Tottenham to run it a little bit closer.
I'm going fiction on this one. Sorry to jump in, but I think pound for pound, if you
all right, Henry Wright. Sorry, Kate. Sorry.
That's worse than the gravy insult. Let me just say, pound for pound, if you put our teams next to each other, Arsenal have got a better squad than us. But I think if we can add an Eze and another player on the wing, I think you could argue our attack is far stronger than Arsenal's. But it's our defence. We haven't got the strength in depth. I know Tom just touched on it. I mean, we've had the good news today that Romero signed a new contract till 2029. So we know we've got him. We've got the likes of Danso, who has come on and hit the ground running. But I just think we're a little way off yet. I don't think we're miles apart. I think Ange played us in a way that made our team look far worse than it is. But I do think Arsenal, I think in with 3 years, if we go on the trajectory, I expect us to go on with Frank. If we constantly invest every window, I think it could happen. But at the minute, I don't think we're ready just yet.
Yeah, just to chip in with that, I think it's fiction as well. As much as I'd love to sit here and say fact, and Arsenal are, they're one of the best teams in Europe, and they've been there or thereabouts for the last 3 or 4 years. This is a brand new regime, brand new manager, a lot of new players. There's a lot that's got to happen for us to surpass a really good team. And I look at Arsenal yesterday, and as much as the identity, it's a bit weird what they're doing. But then also you've got to remember they've got a brand new striker. They need to bed him in. It's going to take a while for them to get used to having a focal point and an actual number 9. When for the last couple of years they've done the whole false 9 thing, Gabriel, Nketiah, Havertz. So that will take time. And you saw that yesterday. They didn't look like they had played together. But we're a long way off that, finishing 17th last season. And like Kate said, with a lot of players that will play that opposition, need to find their confidence again, trust in the manager, trust in the system. But I do think the Tottenham squad is a lot better than what people have given us credit for. But then also, I do understand why people haven't given us credit. When you finish 17th and lose 22 games, that's a big bounce back. So, yeah, as much as I'd love to agree with Tom, I still think there's a long way to go.
Yeah, I'm probably going to echo the same sentiment, man. Like, I'd love for it to be football, but I mean, obviously, if you're taking it just on the results yesterday, then Tottenham are looking better than Arsenal, yes. But unfortunately, like you guys have just said, Tottenham are just restarting their project. So there's no way they're going to be where Arsenal are now. And actually, I'm kind of glad you showed the Sky Sports thing earlier, because those seasons, 13, 14, up until Kane left, it's because they had players like Kane, Ali, Eriksson in that squad, and Lucas Moura, who a lot of Spurs fans don't give a lot of love to, but they had these players that were similar to the level that Arsenal have in their squad now, where you've just got game changers all over the pitch, and that's how they were able to reach that level. And they had a world-class keeper in Lloris as well. Whereas I think looking at the Spurs squad now, they're definitely stronger. Like you can't really say then, like, if they're top 5, top 6 this year, I'm not surprised, but you can tell like they're missing a few pieces. And I'm glad the point about depth was made, because I remember just watching the game and thinking, you know what? See Van der Ven, I think he's world-class right now. But if he gets injured, that could be Tottenham's season done, because he's just that good. So this is definitely fiction.
Spencer here said it's been one bloody match. Now let me also bring the concept of fictional football to life. I take claims from big accounts, small accounts that have trended over the weekend, and we turn them into questions and talking points. And I also agree that this is fiction. I think that Eze will go to Spurs. I think Arsenal are absolutely crazy. They're either crazy or they have an almighty trump card, an ace up their sleeves. And I don't know who's going to understand this reference. I gave it yesterday and it fell flat on the younger audience. It's going to remind me of when Del Boy beat Boise at poker all those years ago on Only Fools and Horses, that where he's got 3 kings and then he goes, I've only got 2 pair, and it ends up being 2 aces. Arsenal have got to do something like this. And I say that because not because Spurs are going to finish ahead of them this year. I don't think that's going to happen. But Eze is a game changer. And if it wasn't for the implementation of a 6-year-old rule that no one even knew existed, Crystal Palace, because of an Eze free kick, beat Chelsea yesterday. And he is such an important part of that team. Yes, they're 9 games unbeaten. They've won FA Cup semi-finals, finals, and Community Shields. The semi-final and the final, this man scored 2 screamers to help his team win. He has got everything: clutch moments, winning goals, can transition, can play with the ball at his feet, can run. He's got pace. This is a game-changing signing for Tottenham Hotspur, and I think will be one of the best signings their club has made since Son. And you've had a few good signings since then. In the attack as well, I can't think of anyone you've signed since Son that's going to be as good as this.
Kudus.
Mohamed Kudus could be, yeah. I'm actually thinking of previous summers. Kudus is brilliant. I love watching him at the weekend. I'm so annoyed he's gone to Tottenham. At West Ham, he weren't really a threat. Do you know what I mean? He's just there. But I knew that he was going to come to your club and take football more seriously, because why wouldn't you? Like, the step up from like West Ham to Spurs. You know, sometimes people go, Spurs to Liverpool or Spurs to United is a big jump. It's true, but it's the same of West Ham to Tottenham. Like, these jumps existed at all levels of football, and you are such a big. I know West Ham fans won't like me saying it, but Spurs are just so much bigger. And I know they won the Conference League in recent years. That gave them a little bit of the fact you went and done the Europa League 2 years later. It just quietens your little puppies down again. But yeah, look, this is a great changer, but they're not going to catch, Arsenal. Yes, they look better than Arsenal in the opening game. I also think as well, to a lot of the Spurs fans online, I saw saying this, you played Burnley at home. They did go to United away. And as much as people want to attack Arsenal and slag it off, they've only won 5 times at Old Trafford in about 30-odd years. And all of those results have been 1-0. There's a weird sort of kooky thing about that.
100%. And you should have beat them yesterday, which annoyed me. You should have beat them. Yeah. You should have beat them, man. So frustrating.
But do you know what I find a little bit disingenuous from the Arsenal thing about we've not won at Old Trafford? Is I've seen a lot of them say Chelsea fans shouldn't pipe up though because they've not beaten Arsenal in how long? So it's like, okay, well, if we're using we batter you lot, but we shouldn't be winning at Old Trafford because we don't win at Old Trafford. It's like, well, don't hold on a minute. You guys are the ones saying we're pushing Liverpool, we're pushing City. Shouldn't you beat a 16th, 15th place team that are struggling, that don't have a good keeper, that need 2 more midfielders, that have a manager that squats and is stressed out every week? I'm not cussing him. I'm just saying, yeah? Shouldn't you? But realistically, if you're doing Champions League finals, shouldn't they go? We're not talking about, look, that's not what we're discussing. So let me chill. Let me just focus on Spurs. Yeah. I just think, if they sign Eze, see that North London derby, it could be sticky for Arsenal. Because Eze really is the guy to take a game by the scruff of its neck, brush off Odegaard and Rice in midfield, and slap it bottom bins, and the whole of the Emirates is quiet.
He was so good yesterday, Eze, against Chelsea.
He's
in the form of his life.
There was a moment he had the free kick, which was ruled out for a stupid reason. But there was a moment out on the left in the first half where he chases down this ball and Reece James goes out to him and he megs Reece James, and then he nearly gets past the midfielder who's come over and Reece James has to pull him down. He looks so effortless while doing it, and you're going, if you're putting that in a Tottenham team, which I think that if you're putting Kudus around them, Tottenham should be trying. I know that it looks like Savio is not going to happen now, but if they can go and get another top left winger of an ilk, they put him on the left with Kudus on the right, and you're basically telling Eze, do what you want to do. We're going to give you all the runners around you. That's got real potential to be terrifying for the rest of the league, especially when you've got strikers like Richarlison and Solanke, who, yes, they're not 25 goal a season guys, but they're both decent enough finishers. And the fact you've got 2 of them means that when one of them's not playing well, you can put the other one in, which is a luxury that not many teams do have. So in theory, Tottenham can score a lot of goals this season. But the big thing for me and why I'm giving them a big element is I maybe, again, people might jump on me and go, PSG weren't great and all that, but Tottenham looked quite hard to beat in that Super Cup until Tottenham came through.
Yeah.
For 85 minutes, I saw a lot to like about that Tottenham performance, and then Tottenham came through.
Have you guys not noticed this though? And this is where I love the social media world that we have all helped to create and forge. And it was never a job. It was barely a hobby when we first started. It was one of those weird things. I'd say to like friends of mine, family members, "What are you doing tonight?" "I'm watching United game." "Are you coming out afterwards?" "No, I'm jumping on a stream to talk about it with other people." People are like, "You weirdos." Like that's how this was treated. I'm very proud of what we've forged and created, where it feels normal to do this now, and no one goes, "Oh, really?" But that being said, and I blame the Manaverse for this, people come out with some of the weirdest things now. You mentioned like Arsenal, Chelsea, Spurs being hard to beat and the performance being good. People are like, "Yeah, the last 5 minutes happened, so the rest of it means nothing." And I'm like, hang on, we can't start redefining how we've always viewed football. Performances were always an important part. No, Jose, look at his peak Chelsea team. All it was about was winning. No, but that winning happened because of the consistency of their solid defensive performances. No team that's ever been successful did it without being hard to beat, without having a consistency of performance. Just like yesterday. I'm not happy because we lost. That is such a low IQ, disingenuous manosphere sort of, I've got to project I'm a winner because I'm a proper man. That, those little geezers. That for me, adolescence settings, you know what I'm saying? That for me is what I get from that kind of talk now. It's all a little bit performative, a little bit crazy. Performances really matter. And I've watched Spurs in their first 2 games. And yes, Burnley really attacked. And Burnley are a little bit of an unknown entity because there hasn't been the level of scouting into them as there has been PSG. And Spurs were very difficult to beat in both. Spurs scored goals, Spurs looked dangerous, and they're still going to add a player or two to their attack. And if you're not taking those first 2 performances seriously, and if you're going to ignore the fact that Thomas Frank knows 1 week I'm going to be pragmatic, the next week I'm going to attack, he understands who he's going up against, can adapt in games, that is exactly what Tottenham need. Tottenham don't need a manager that can only operate if he's got one of the best squads in the league and has an endless supply of money, pound for pound, compared to the league that they're in. That's what Conte needed. That's what Jose in his peak needed. And Spurs are not that club right now, and that's fine. So what you need is a manager that suits you. And I think Thomas Frank is amazing. No, I don't think that you're going to finish above Arsenal because Arsenal are in this title race, and I don't think Tottenham are. But Tottenham are going to, unless people get with the program and accept it early, Spurs are going to shock a lot of people this year, get a lot of good results. And Eze, it's going to be one of the signings of the season. He's amazing. He's absolutely amazing. Let's do some super chats here, people. This here says, who